This is OwlUp, where learning happens in minutes, not hours. For a deeper journey, explore all our courses at owlup.co. Now, let's dive in. Welcome back to Chapter 2 of our series, Reinvent Your Career Path. In this episode, titled The Power of Mindset in Career Transformation, we'll explore how adopting a growth mindset can be a game changer in your career journey. Get ready to discover the differences between growth and fixed mindsets and how they can shape your path to success. Let's dive in. Right now, someone who just got laid off is applying to about a fifth more jobs than their former coworkers, not because they're smarter, but because they think differently. In this episode, we'll explore how shifting your mindset can quietly rewrite your entire career story. So let's zoom in on what actually changes when people lean into this different way of thinking about their careers. Researchers tracking career transitions notice something curious. When two people lose similar jobs, the one who treats the setback like a prototype rather than a dead end starts behaving differently right away. They test more ideas, send bolder applications, and treat each rejection like a product bug report instead of a personal verdict. Neuroscientists are watching a similar story unfold inside the brain. When adults tackle unfamiliar skills, coding, UX, data analysis, their brains don't just cope, they physically reorganize, as if quietly renovating unused rooms for new work. In your career, that renovation shows up as a growing list of things you're willing to try, roles you're willing to explore, and skills you're no longer afraid to learn in public. But here's the twist most people miss. That inner career operating system isn't just about optimism, it quietly changes what you notice. Two people can scroll the same job board and see totally different worlds. One only spots roles that match their last title. The other notices apprenticeships, adjacent functions, and skills-based postings that hint at side doors into a new field. Over time, this gap in what you perceive compounds. It shapes who you reach out to, which experiments you run, and even how you interpret silence after an application, as a verdict or as data to iterate on. Here's one more layer most people never connect. Mindset quietly shapes how you use every practical career tactic you've heard about, networking, upskilling, job searching, so two people can follow the same advice and get wildly different outcomes. Take networking. With a fixed, "this is who I am" frame, outreach feels like a performance. You need a polished story, a clear label, a finished identity. That pressure makes you send fewer messages to safer people with narrower questions. A growth-oriented frame turns the same coffee chat into a lab session. You're testing hypotheses about roles, asking, "What surprised you about this field?" or "What would you learn first if you were starting now?" The behavior change is subtle. More curiosity, more follow-ups, more willingness to say, "I don't know this yet." But over months, it compounds into better leads and more honest advice. The same thing happens with upskilling. Two people enroll in a data or UX course. One approaches it like a pass-fail verdict on their suitability for a new field. They hide confusion, avoid peer review, and quietly drop off when the material gets dense. The other treats friction as a signal, not a judgment. They rewind videos, post messy drafts, ask for critique, and iterate their portfolios. Both log the same hours, but only one is systematically converting struggle into skill. Even job boards become different tools. Someone anchored to "my experience equals my future" filters out roles unless they match 90% of their history. Someone open to identity shift reads for patterns instead of titles, recurring tools, problems, and outcomes they could grow toward. That's how a marketer spots a path into product or a teacher into learning design. Think of it like refactoring old code in a legacy system. You're not throwing your whole career away. You're rewriting functions so they can plug into new architectures, industries, roles, and technologies that didn't exist when you started. What the research adds is scale. It isn't about rare outliers who reinvent themselves. It's about ordinary people who slightly change their default response to confusion, critique, and slow progress, and, as a result, put themselves in the path of more shots on goal. Over a year or two, that shift stops being invisible. It shows up as interviews you wouldn't have attempted, projects you wouldn't have pitched, and offers that would have felt out of your league when you first started exploring. Mia had spent 10 years in customer support and felt too behind to move into tech. Instead of hunting for the perfect title match, she started treating every project at work like a small experiment. She automated a weekly report, documented a messy process, then volunteered to shadow the product team on bug triage. None of that came with a promotion at first, but it gave her artifacts, a simple script, a cleaner workflow, a short write-up of product feedback patterns. Those became talking points in conversations, then portfolio pieces, then bullet points on a resume that no longer read support only. Or take Louis, a mid-career accountant who kept getting ghosted by roles he secretly thought were too good for him. Instead of assuming the silence meant no potential, he ran it like A/B testing. He varied his headline, reframed experience around business impact, and swapped one dense certification list for a short, results-first summary. After 20 iterations, his response rate didn't just tick up. He found a niche in revenue operations he hadn't known to search for when he began. Your challenge this week: run a micro-reinvention sprint over the next 7 days. Choose one workday activity you already do: writing emails, solving customer issues, organizing meetings, analyzing numbers, and recast it as a transferable skill for a field you're curious about. For example, turn a detailed email into a mini case study highlighting how you structured information. Treat a tricky stakeholder meeting as practice in facilitation or conflict resolution, and jot down what you did that worked. Reframe a spreadsheet you maintain as evidence of basic analytics or operations thinking. By week's end, collect 3 tangible scraps: a rewritten bullet point, a short story you could tell, or a before and after example. You're not overhauling your career, you're training your eye to see raw material for a different path and work you're already doing. In the next decade, the most valuable signal won't be your past titles but your visible learning curve. Think less career ladder and more subway map: lateral moves, transfers, occasional express routes. Companies will scan for people who show they can switch lines without derailing, through project histories, microcerts, even captured, failed experiments. Those who regularly document what they're learning will navigate new opportunities the way power users hop between apps, fluidly, without starting from zero. Every small experiment you run now becomes like saving a version of a document. You can roll back, compare drafts, and spot what actually moved you forward. As work keeps shifting, the people who treat their career like a living file, not a finished PDF, will iterate faster and unlock options that don't even exist on today's job boards. Before next week, ask yourself: 1. Where is my current "I'm not that kind of person" story? For example, I'm not a leader, I'm bad at networking, I can't switch industries now. Quietly deciding which roles I don't even apply for. And what would I try this week if that story were temporarily suspended? 2. Thinking about the person I want to become in my next career chapter, what is one uncomfortable conversation, outreach message, or experiment I could do in the next 48 hours that would be a vote for that future self rather than my current fears? 3. When I imagine a worst-case scenario for making a big career change, which parts are actually based on evidence and which are just old protective beliefs? And how would I behave differently this week if I only acted on what I can genuinely verify? This was OwlUp, your daily step forward. This series continues with more chapters on OwlUp.co. Visit OwlUp.co to access the complete course and continue your learning journey. See you there!